Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Just in case you thought that the initial wave of anti-Catholic bigotry had subsided, it would be a couple days. It would be snarky cable TV hosts like Bill Maher and hysterical academics on Twitter, and then it would subside. You'd be wrong. Remember, the confirmation proceedings don't begin until October 12th, so you got a couple more weeks of this, and then you got 10 days more of it after that. The Associated Press, ACB, Barrett, tied to faith group, ex-members say subjugates women. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Subjugation of women. Oh,
close ties to a charismatic Christian religious group, the People of Praise, the South Bend affiliate, that holds men are divinely ordained as the head of the family and head of the family and faith, teaches that wives must submit to the will of their husbands.
And we have to be barefoot in the kitchen.
Does not say that.
I know. It's conjecture.
Yeah.
A little snarkiness.
Molly Hemingway had the very simple 2-sentence response. That's all that's really required. My husband is the wonderful head of our Christian family. Subjugation is always a false and bigoted way to describe this Christian teaching, but something of an obvious self-own when used as an attempted hit on a woman nominated to the Supreme Court. Yeah, right. Yeah, she's really being subjugated in the Barrett household, isn't she? Exactly. It's hilarious.
Wallflower, yeah, she's not doing anything.
It's the idea that is rejected by third-wave feminists and male impersonators who are similarly affiliated.
Who wear pea hats.
Correct, yeah. Or suggest that they can identify as said. But, this is not subjugation. It's the idea that men and women have different familial roles. I know this is something rejected by the Marxists, whether they be the founders of Black Lives Matter, the founders and the scions and the descendants of most of the D.C. press corps outlets. But that's what it means. It is not subjugation. It is not bondage. Women are not being held in captivity in Christian families. I mean, it's just so silly, but it does prompt the question that Bill McGurn asks, which is whether Joe Biden will be questioned on this topic tonight, and asked if he agrees that Democrat senators, his colleagues, including his running mate, should not violate Article 6 of the United States Constitution and attempt to impose some sort of religious test on Amy Coney Barrett during her confirmation hearing, since the Supreme Court will be one of the topics of discussion. That will be interesting to see what Joe Biden has to say. I don't know if I'd ask it quite that way, because it allows for him to wiggle off and say, oh, of course, the religious affiliation isn't an issue. The issue is going to be dismantling Obamacare, abortion. How is she going to follow her faith? Is she going to follow the Constitution and the law, and so on and so forth? All of the thinly veiled covers the left uses to try to apply a religious test, the way that our very own Dick Durbin, my senior state senator,
who's up for re-election, by the way, don't forget that.
He is on the ballot November 3rd. He said, Tammy Coney Barrett, what is an Orthodox Christian, and do you consider yourself an Orthodox Christian? It was basically, are you now or have you ever been an Orthodox Christian? And that's the attitude that the left and their handmaidens in the media are taking with respect to Amy Coney Barrett. And this is why I'm so glad a confirmation hearing is going to occur. And I want the AP to continue running stories like this. And I want Bill Maher and Ibram Kendi and anybody else who cares to opine to weigh in with all of the invective, all of the ad hominem they so desire, to show the world who they are, and let Amy Coney Barrett continue to show the world who she is. And then the American people can decide in which world they want to live. I think that'll work out very well for Amy Coney Barrett and for the nation. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Hogan Gidley. He is a National Press Secretary for the Trump campaign. Hogan, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, Hogan.
Do we have Hogan?
Hello.
Oh,
Thanks
there we
for
go.
having me on.
There we go. Hogan, thanks. We got you. So what about that? How does Trump and the Trump campaign game planning the Amy Coney Barrett nomination for tonight, knowing what the left has been saying and the left media has been reporting?
Well, they've already been attacking her in such nasty ways. They went after her, not only her faith, as you guys were talking about ahead of time, but they've gone after her family at some point. Ibram Kendi, as you just said, made the point about her family, the 2 adoptions she has from Haiti, and smearing her children as well. Basically saying that they were ill-gotten in some way. That's something that the left is going to do. I don't think they can help themselves. We already heard people like Mazie Hirono and Dianne Feinstein, who thankfully was just caught not wearing a mask in an airport after she chastised the rest of the country as to how they should be inside of an airport. Also went after her religion and her faith. Look, the fact is, this isn't about her religion and her faith. It's about whether or not she can do the job. And she is an incredible jurist. She has an impeccable record, both in her education and on the bench. And what this really shows, quite frankly, is the way the left is posing this question to her, whether it be about healthcare, life, or anything else. It's because they expect judges to be activists. So their litmus tests are being exposed in real time. They want a jurist to be able to rule from the bench and make laws, which is not their role. They are to interpret laws. And it also shows that Donald Trump put somebody up there who is a constitutionalist, who's a textualist, who's going to read the law and interpret the law. And as Scalia once said so famously, if you really do believe in the Constitution and you're a constitutionalist, you're not going to like every ruling that comes down from the court, because it's not biased. It's not going to be to your liking. It's going to be because the law is there and the law dictates the ruling. So I think it's a really good pick. It's a solid pick, and hopefully we'll move forward this confirmation quickly and without drama. But then we're talking about Democrats, so it's tough.
Yes,
tough
they won't even meet with her, so that says a lot about their lack of character. So tonight's the big debate. What is President Trump? Any prep work that you can let us in on that he's been doing?
Not really, other than what he said publicly. Obviously, I don't get into private conversations with the president, but publicly he's been very excited about the fact that he's getting ready for this debate. He talked about Rudy Giuliani, Chris Christie sitting next to him in the briefing room yesterday, said that they were in some of the prep sessions as well. Elections are about choices, and when you have a 47-month career in politics of record-setting success, and you put that up against Joe Biden's 47-year career of record-setting failure, the choice is pretty clear. And what that 47 number is going to be interesting, because what Joe Biden is basically saying is, dear America, you can start believing me that I'm going to fix things right starting now, because he's been in office for half of a century. All the things he's been talking about, he's never been able to accomplish, and the things he did enact just crushed the American worker, killed American jobs, hurt the American family, sending tens of thousands of manufacturing plants, into ruin, hundreds of thousands of jobs gone, 850 to be exact, 850,000 jobs from NAFTA just gone in this country, and then 3.5 million jobs straight to China, leaving American workers. So I think that's going to be an interesting dynamic when you see the two men up there. One has just massive success to tout, and the other one has failure and then promises of remaking this country into a socialist nation under his belt, and that's all he's going to have to offer.
And this should be a debate topic as well as a law enforcement topic, but the Project Veritas did this undercover investigation over the last 2 days. Second video released yesterday, the first video the day before, that seems to provide some compelling evidence that Ilhan Omar political operatives are engaged in a illegal ballot harvesting program in Minneapolis. And the Minneapolis Police Department tweeted out yesterday that we are aware of the allegations and we are looking into it, just a generic tweet, but nonetheless taking it seriously enough to put a tweet out. The idea of ballot security and the administration of the election around the country, particularly in swing states and particular jurisdictions within those swing states, how much is Trump likely to comment on that tonight?
I imagine, I don't know if that case specifically, but it is, an exclamation point and something we've been saying for quite some time. When your Democrat Party is pushing across this country for votes to be counted after Election Day, it's quite problematic. And it's a system set up for fraud, for abuse, for chaos. And I think the Democrats know that, and I just don't think they care at this point. It seems like they're embracing the fact this is setting up to be a disaster. And when you're trying to change the way we systematically vote in this country just weeks before an election, states don't have the capacity to do that. You've seen, massive instances of fraud. You've seen ballots thrown out over the last several months in various states like New Jersey, for example, Pennsylvania, for example. States are going to be decided by, razor-thin margins. If they can't get it right in a small congressional district, it's going to be very difficult when millions of ballots come pouring in via the mail to try and get it done. And just real quickly, in the specifics of this, why this is so egregious, Nevada is a great example. What they've inherently done is said that they're going to send out ballots with return envelopes that are prepaid. The problem is prepaid envelopes aren't date stamped by the post office.
Right.
So you have no idea of knowing when those come in. So you could literally wake up on Wednesday morning and say, wow, Donald Trump's up by 100. Go find me 101. And they can do it and legally get them added to the total. So it's a real problem.
And in Clark County, Nevada, way back in June, a couple of months ago.
Seems like forever ago.
Clark County disclosed to the Public Interest Legal Foundation that of those ballots that they preemptively sent out to every address, more than 223,000 ballots were sent to bad addresses or were returned to sender. So again, the quality of the lists that these election authorities are using as well.
Oh yeah, and those lists are notoriously bad lists. I mean, the famous one of the cat getting the ballot in the mail, but the cat wasn't even alive. The cat was dead and had been dead for 10 years.
Yep.
Now, granted, I'd much rather have my pet vet vote rather than a Democrat, because I think they have a little bit more common sense.
Sure.
But that's not how our system works. You're supposed to be a breathing, live, human person. So that's the system we live in. Until my pet can vote, then I guess we'll just have to stick with that.
And not to belabor this, but I mean, there's a story in Daily Beast, left outlet too, complaining about Brooklyn voters receiving absentee ballots in New York with the wrong voter names and addresses on them. And then there's this Biden campaign operative in Texas, a political director, who's been implicated in another, a la Minneapolis I was describing, another mail-in ballot harvesting scheme in Harris County in Texas, a political director for Biden campaign named Dallas Jones.
Yeah, I mean, it happens everywhere. And for Democrats to pretend like it doesn't exist is quite shocking. It's happened time and time again over many elections, and no one really cared too much about it for various reasons, because either their candidate won or because it was just a small example. But when you start to add all these examples up, it becomes a serious issue that this country is going to face in this election. And now, on top of that, you're literally providing the people who've been doing this for decades illegally with options to do it on a wide scale. I mean, what did you think was going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? And for anyone out there who says, yeah, but there haven't been any really massive coordinated efforts. So let me get this straight. You have to have an election that has been destroyed, that has been chaotic, for us to take measures to fix it. It's stupid. We see exactly where the holes are, but the Democrats are going down that road because they think it helps them politically. And I think that's just disgusting.
On the matter of COVID, this is where Democrats think they make their bones against Trump. They want to talk about COVID as much as possible, and the perception is that, then Trump wants to not talk about COVID as much as possible. He had a big announcement yesterday with the rapid tests that are being deployed around the country. That was some positive news. How does he approach tackling the topic of the pandemic tonight so that he's on offense like he is on every other topic?
Well, again, don't want to get into specifics on strategy, but what we do know for certain is that this situation, as horrible and disgusting and tragic as it is, because China unleashed this virus on the world, it was unforeseen, it was unprecedented. As bad as it is, Under Joe Biden, it would be worse by his own admission. Joe Biden has bragged about the fact that he would not have shut down flights from China and from Europe. He called the president all types of horrible names. And we now know from Dr. Fauci, Dr. Birx, Dr. Hahn, Dr. Redfield, that one decision the president made to close down travel saved countless lives in this country. And we're over 200,000 deaths. One death is tragic because of something like this. But the early estimates were 2.5 million people dead. And so as horrible as things are, we are coming in well below some of those predictions because of President Donald Trump's leadership. And I think the more he talks about the formation of a task force, the ability to get public-private partnerships together to get the PPE and all of the gloves and the gowns and the ventilators to states where they needed, go back and talk about how all the governors praised you for what you were able to do. Mm-hmm. And let's be clear, all that stuff, where was it made? When this virus came in and no one had ever seen anything like it before, it was brand new, all that stuff was made in China. And why? Because Joe Biden gave them favored nation status, allowed them to make cheap goods. All of our jobs went over there. So the president had to act, and he had to do other types of partnerships to get it done, and he was able to do it despite Joe Biden's failures.
He is Hogan Gidley, National Press Secretary for the Trump campaign. Hogan, thanks for joining us. Good luck tonight.
Thanks so much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Blue Ocean, restoring water one drop at a time. Does your organization use an air compressor? Okay. One more question. Where do you drain the compressor condensate?